It's a setback simply because I think they've been selling the narrative that by introducing good governance, they will win back key Malay support in some of the states. But what we saw over the weekend is that the same thing that happened last November, where the coalition failed to win crucial Malay votes, happened again. So as expected, all those seats that were won, the parliamentary seats won by Perikatan Nasional at the last general election, and the state seats that form part of those parliamentary seats were won by Perikatan Nasional. So we saw the same pattern that happened in last November.
Adib, this is JP Ong. It's been a very interesting turn of events, a 180 of some sorts for Perikatan Nasional, which just 3 years ago suffered a major setback based on how they handled the COVID-19 pandemic. And this time around, they seem to be gaining a lot more support from broad parts of the Malaysian society. What do you think has changed, and what do you think they did that was crucial in turning around support and gaining more political momentum in these state elections as we've seen?
Well, Perikatan Nasional is a strong opposition. It's what we are seeing is part of the maturing process, Malaysia as a democracy, where I think Perikatan Nasional, having made up of former experienced leaders, former prime ministers, people in UMNO, people who are part of Anwar's party, so they managed to form a formidable coalition to challenge the federal government. So yes, and as you pointed out, a lot of them were experienced in dealing with COVID-19, so that became part of their campaign message.
Mm-hmm. Adib, Martin here. Good to talk to you again. I noticed that the turnout was considerably lower on average versus the national election, the general election, right? What does that tell you about the Malay vote, especially the young Malay vote?
Yeah, I think it was already expected before polling day that turnout will not be as high as the general election. I think simply because I think the general public are not so invested in politics compared to politicians or observers or close observers of Malaysian politics. And in Malaysia, I think a lot of voters don't vote where they live or where they work. So voting is actually a lot of work for a lot of people to take leave and travel to their hometowns to vote. So like you saw in the state of Kelantan in East Coast, I think it's the turnout is below 60%, simply because being a least developed state, I think a lot of the younger population live elsewhere, especially in the central region. So going back, traveling 5-6 hours over one weekend to vote is just not practical for a lot of voters.